Okay. Okay. So are you saying that besides in addition to the habits that we have and the rituals that we have, like namaz and reciting Quran, in addition to that, we have to have we have to dedicate some time or set aside some time to connect with God.
Yeah, I think, but I mean, it could be part of your namaz. I mean, often we sit down after namaz, we do dua.
Yeah.
That could be a spiritual connection of yours with Allah Taala. It could be anywhere really. It doesn't have to be, as long as you feel comfortable to having that connection. It is basically it's wonderful to have that. And I think I will encourage younger people to think out of the box, to come out and to think how we can connect, rather
Mhm.
than just the traditional methods, how we can connect, because it's the connection is with God, and we just need to establish that connection, and it's very empowering. Take it from me, it's
Mhm.
very empowering, that connection. If you can establish that connection, you would never lose it and you never go wrong.
Yes, that is so true. And I really want to thank you that you're sharing your personal experience and the personal advice, and that's great. So let's shift gears and talk about your focus, the women empowerment and entrepreneurship. And now you already told about the example of Hazrat Khadija, but in more modern times, how is women empowerment related to entrepreneurship?
So in Islam, it's quite clear that we have not put any boundaries for women to be held back. There is no such boundaries ever. These are political and cultural boundaries that have been put. There's a big difference between cultures in Islam. Because if you look at the Islamic values, there is nothing in Islam that stops women from achieving the maximum out of life. And I think just looking at Khadija as first woman of Islam, I think taking that example is very powerful. I think it's so powerful having a CEO in Arabia 1500 years ago. How many CEOs would you find in Arabia even now? I doubt many. I'm not putting them down. I mean, they've got a great culture in Arabia as well. But I'm just thinking, and then to have all these wonderful men working for her, and then knowing that she was a widow, a divorcee, a mother who's carrying children. I mean, there's so many cliches to be broken there and then. And I think that example in itself is very powerful, and it should be as a community should highlight that. And if we can follow into that footstep, that's great. I think that's great. That would be a good thing. And the other thing that we should do is we should try to bring people who believe in Allah together. I mean, it doesn't matter which religion they are, either they're Jewish or they are Christian. We should try to bring them closer together. When I stand up eventually in front of my maker, I want to say that I was part of a change. I at least
Mhm.
tried. If I failed, well, fine. I mean, many things I failed in life, so what? But at least I tried, and that's really satisfying for me. But I think there should be a lot more opportunities, and I think especially in the Pakistani context, I think this is going down to Pakistan, I know. So I would say that there ought to be a reconciliation. The parliamentary representation, the professional representation. There should ought to be at least, to start with, 33% representation of women in all those. It should be compulsory, I think, personally, because Islam talks about equality. Islam does not talk about inequality. Islam is always for equal things, and I think we should highlight that. And we should also highlight the achievements of women. I was looking at the other day, I was talking to somebody who's got a very good organization in Pakistan called Beti. And she spends all her time looking after the young girls who are left, you know, in Pakistan but without their parents, and then she just looks after them and grows them into very, very successful individuals, which is wonderful idea to follow as well. And I think what you're doing, Rabia, is amazing as well, sort of connecting people. You're sitting in sunny San Francisco and doing this. I'm grateful to that as well. Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. And that's amazing that uh, you talked about the cliches which are so un-Islamic, and I do want to talk to you about this. Do you want to bring or highlight some of the cliches which
Yeah,
are
certainly. I mean,
not
certainly.
only in Pakistan but also in India as well,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that persist, especially when it comes to women and daughters?
No, absolutely. And I think we should start very early. We should look at Islam when it came into existence. Basically, the very first thing that Islam stopped in Middle East, where it originates from, is basically that women, particularly the young girls, were sort of massacred or killed at the birth, as you know, and we call it time of Jahiliyyah. Which was basically to sort of kill them, say they were bad luck for the family. Now, Islam was very first religion which stopped this practice. It says no. The second most important thing that Islam and its teachings bring forward for us in a modern world is that it actually gives a stake for a daughter in her father's house. The modern way in which we achieve this, it is an equal share for a daughter to have in a father's house, which wasn't in any other religion. If you read a lot of Hindu philosopher and scholars, they appreciate this part that has been brought forward by Islam. Then there is a cliche about four marriages. Now, I mean, we need to look at that four marriages very closely. I mean, there's a lot of talk about the four marriages and why they take place and what happens. The primary reasons, and I think we need to look at those, the two reasons why that happen. Even today, when the wars happen, majority of those wars are fought by men. So, in that, unfortunately, men die, and basically, when a wife loses a husband, or children lose a father, they just not lose a father, but they also lose the earning power of that particular family, and hence the concept of having this for marriage principle. Now, I do understand and I do take the point that there is a slightly political Islam there as well. There is that element of that as well. But I think the primary reason was this: to protect women, really,
Yes.
so that they are not left alone. I'm not advocating for it, but I'm just saying we need to look at it before we criticize that part.
Mhm.
And I think if you move down more, the prenuptial agreement that we are now talking about, the last 50 years, the prenuptial agreement has become so popular in the Western world. But Islam introduced prenuptial agreement in Meher. It's a very essence of prenuptial agreement that was introduced by Islam 1500 years ago. It's a very modern concept now. But, um, a woman who gets married, she, in consultation with her relatives, can decide what a prenuptial sum would be,
Mhm.
for her marriage, and that's quite empowering, and I think that's quite an important element to bring forward. And I think also looking at the simpleness in which we should get women and men married, I think that's also important, because we nowadays spend so much money, and certain fathers I know, especially in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, in these countries, they find it very difficult when they have two or three girls to get them married because of the expenses. But that's not how Islam is. I mean, Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself, his daughter, Fatima, she got married and he had a very simple ceremony. So all this is non-Islamic, what we're doing. It's more culturally than anything else. And I think those are the elements that are in favor of women. They're all in favor of it. Prenuptial agreement, rights in father's property, equality in jobs. All those sort of things are so powering. And we've always advocated the rights for women. There is no such thing, or no place in Islam which says women are not equal.
Mhm.